And now our next topic of the presentation is the work of the judging panel during competition, the team guidelines. So what should we talk? What should we say? What should we teach our viewers about this topic, Alexei?
So really important, we said it already, watching and note taking at the same time is really stressful, it's really demanding. So that's really important to be prepared,
Hmm.
so to be ready for that. We can also talk about the cross-referencing with previous performances. That's what judges are doing all the time, and that's the reason why we said it. The notes
Okay.
should be readable because you're gonna have sometimes to go back in your previous judges sheets and compare quickly the runs because
And
you
that's
have
where
to
watching
enter your
practice
score.
and all these things help, right? Now
Helps
let
absolutely.
me ask you one thing when it comes to work of the judging panel and teamwork guidelines. Like I'm writing, I need to blink, and skateboarding is very fast, and I'm following, so I can miss a trick, and I know that I missed it. Am I allowed to ask my professional colleagues for, hey, what was it, guys? Is it okay? Does this apply for the kind of teamwork that the judges do when watching the skateboarding runs or tricks?
Totally, it's totally human, to miss one trick because you were looking at your notes and for a blink of an eye you're missing a trick. So you should not hesitate to be vocal. You
Hmm.
can write and watch and still be like, hey, I missed that one, what was the last trick? And then someone from your colleague can help you during the run to fill
And
the little
vice
gap
versa,
that you're
because
having,
what
and vice
happens to
versa.
you can
It
happen.
happens to me as well. It happens to anyone. That's really
Okay.
important. But during the run, it's not after the buzzer. After the buzzer, you can't talk anymore. You're not telling your score.
So
You
you're
just
not like, hey guys, let's I don't know, Paul, put 85. This is not happening, right?
no, no.
Okay, so we can help as judges, we can help each other by completing our notes for a proper and more accurate evaluation for a full record of the run, but we should not influence or impose our decision-making process,
No,
right?
no.
Okay. What is the judging process? And its steps, cross-referencing, making space, and using decimal numbers. I think this is very important, especially in the situations that we discussed when there are too many athletes competing in the same event round or at the same competition, so to say, and basically to deliver the accurate and most valid ranking at the end. So let's talk about this. What are the steps of the judging process, Alexei?
So first, the first step is anchoring the score. So that's the main thing when you start judging a competition.
So I
If you
watched the performance
Yeah,
with all my, we starting the event and
yeah,
it just started. We have the first rider or someone in the beginning and he just finished the run. The
yeah.
buzzer goes. So what does the anchoring of the score means?
That's um,
Just
trying.
very shortly, just so we know what that step represents.
So that step is really important because the first score of a full run is
Hmm.
gonna help you to put all the scores around afterwards. So
Okay.
this has to be done right. This has to be done sometimes for anchoring the score. It's necessary to take a little bit more time to make sure that the score is at the right range, because then it's going to allow all the
Okay.
judges for the rest of the competition phase to put all the scores together so it makes sense. Because
Okay, so
the
it's
scores,
setting the basically anchoring the score is the process that all the judges do together for that one particular run to
yeah,
set the bar for that performance evaluation.
exactly.
Okay, good. What is the next steps? Like we are judging the event, we watching it. Uh, we are, like you said, cross-referencing. What can we say about the cross-referencing?
Referencing is comparing the previous performances of
Hmm.
the athletes that already had their runs. That's going to help you to shape the scores of the athletes that are proposing their performance is similar or around the different ranges that you're having after anchoring the score. The scores are a tool. uh, the scores are tools to provide a fair ranking at the end.
Okay,
So
and cross-referencing is basically refreshing your memory in between the
exactly,
competition heats, so your
yeah,
evaluation and the final ranking is more accurate.
yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
all right. And then when I see the making space, we talked about events that have many athletes competing, and we're using judging scales with a limited amount of points available. Uh, Making space, what does it mean in the practice from your experience? Like, what does this say? What would be the advice for the judges?
So my advice for the judges is to not hesitate and not being too shy to create space between the scores you're putting. So let's say there's a few athletes that are in the range of the low 20s, okay, and you
Hmm.
have these athletes, they're proposing runs that are pretty similar, but there's a couple of tricks that are changing, and it's not too close. You can't put them too close to each other. Why? Because on the next hit you might have other skaters that are within the same range,
Or
and if you
they
don't
have two
put in
rounds. They have two
yeah,
rounds.
and they have two runs exactly. So if you don't put enough space between these scores, then you're going to find yourself struggling because the judges scores are combined together, and so your own score is not going to be the final one at the end,
Hmm.
and
And
we're
you
going to
might
talk
you
about
might
it.
get into a situation where if you're using the same numbers because you don't have other space, you might create ties, which is
Ties,
something
exactly,
that you don't want to do to the
exactly.
riders.
And that's also the reason why you should use decimal numbers, because it helps you create more space and avoid these ties.
Exactly. The use of decimal numbers, two decimal numbers in our case on the sanctioned events, is basically providing you a large number of potential combinations that you can use for the performances, like we said, that are within the same range by many athletes. So we can still rank them fairly, even though the range of points that we award to them doesn't look too big.
Exactly,
Meaning, between 20 and 25 points, you can fit a lot of people if you have space for them and if you use the
two
two
decimal
decimal
numbers.
numbers. Now, that's very important. And
It
I
is.
guess it also takes practice and a calm mind, which means watching practice and practicing at home helps, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's also important to it's also important to keep in mind that at the end of the day, if the ranking is right, no one's going to complain. You don't complain because you're winning the competition with the 65 on 100.
Hmm. If
You know
it
what I mean?
refers and it corresponds with the performance you did and you win, it's right. It should
Exactly,
be
it's
fine.
right. So that's also the reason why you should always keep also a reserve on the top scores,
Hmm.
because there's not so much you can do if
Hey,
you
that's the thing that I wanted to ask you. Like many people from the public or from the skaters, they always ask like, "How many times did you give 100?"
never.
And I always say like, guys, look at the history of skateboarding. There were very few situations throughout the whole history of competitive skateboarding when 100 or another form of the highest point evaluation was even awarded. And just like you said, the reason, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you cannot give 100 or the maximum available score unless you are absolutely sure that there is absolutely no one that can beat that performance. And that certainty with the current level of world skateboarding is very, very
It's
slim
not.
or none, because
No,
those top global athletes, they are having tricks in their sleeves, and you need to keep a space in case they pull it off.
exactly. Exactly. And we said it, it's the progression of skateboarding as well. You know, you have to keep that space at the top. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's not a problem, once again, to win a competition without reaching the 90s. That's
Yeah.
okay. Even if it's a really, really good run, you need to keep that space because you never know what can happen, as
Okay.
you said.
Great. Let's move to the next topic. And